Happy holidays, everybody. Yes, it is time. It's time now for my second annual Big 12 Bowl Preview Show, in which I'll highlight the 8 bowl games that have Big 12 representation. We're going to talk about the postseason Big 12 style in just a little bit, and we're also going to review my picks from back in August. You might remember in August I had 12 Big 12 preview shows, which I highlighted all the teams, predicted their record. We're going to see how well or how bad I did. And we're also going to highlight how I did in college football in general. SEC, ACC, Pac-10, Big Ten. Yes, we're going to go over that too. So we're going to see if I was way off, or we're going to see just how close I came to reality. First, though, it is time for Big 12 Bowl previews. Of course, we're going to begin with the Oklahoma Sooners, who won the Big 12 championship 11-2, 7th Big 12 title in the last 11 years, and the reward, they get to go to the Fiesta Bowl New Year's night to take on UConn. Of course, we're going to talk a lot more about this matchup in a few days when I have my OU Bowl preview show, UConn against Oklahoma. That's right, the UConn Huskies, first time ever in a BCS game, despite the fact that they have an overall record of 8-4. But they've won 5 games in a row, including a late field goal from 50 yards to beat South Florida to force a 3-way tie in the Big East Conference with Pittsburgh and West Virginia. Connecticut won the tiebreak. But they will enter the Fiesta Bowl as a 17-point underdog to the Sooners. If there is one thing, though, that UConn has going for them, actually, there's a couple of things. Number one, they're the underdog, so nobody's going to expect them to win this game. I'm sure a lot of UConn fans don't expect their Huskies to win this game. Oklahoma, on the other hand, talk about another thing that UConn has going for them. Oklahoma's recent bad luck in big bowl games. Lost 5 consecutive BCS games. Haven't won a BCS game since the Rose Bowl back during the 2002 season when the Sooners, behind Nate Hibble at quarterback, beat Washington State. It's been 8 years since Oklahoma has won a major bowl game. And considering that Oklahoma has the largest point spread of any of the 35 favorites in bowl games this year, that's going to bring a lot of pressure to the Sooners, and they're constantly going to be reminded that they haven't won the big one in a long time. So as far as motivation, if you look at the UConn Huskies, yeah, it's not going to be easy for OU to get motivated because OU's the more talented team. They're the better team. But the better team doesn't always win, especially when it comes to the postseason. So it's going to bring a little pressure on the Sooners. We'll see how they handle the pressure and how they handle the UConn Huskies. Another bowl game to talk about, January 7th. It is the Cotton Bowl. Texas A&M, winners of 6 consecutive games. Ryan Tannehill at the quarterback helm for the Aggies. A big reason why they went from 3-3 to 9-3, knocking off the 2 Big 12 division champions along the way, Nebraska and Oklahoma. And it won't be that far of a trip from College Station to Dallas. Who will they play? They'll play LSU from the Southeastern Conference, a 10-2 record, terrific season for Les Miles' squad. Patrick Peterson, the All-American defensive player for LSU, you know he'll be a factor, as well as Josh Jasper, the All-American kicker for the Tigers. LSU needed a victory over Arkansas to lock up a BCS at-large bid. It didn't happen. The Razorbacks won that game in Little Rock, and Arkansas, not LSU, got a trip to the Sugar Bowl. So you wonder if LSU's a little disappointed to be playing in this game. I think of all 8 of the Big 12 teams in bowl games, I think A&M will have the toughest game, no question. They come in, as a matter of fact, as a very slight underdog by 1 or 2 points. But A&M, the way they've been playing lately, and considering that they've played in Arlington before at this very stadium earlier in the year against Arkansas, they're going to have a little more familiarity with Cowboy Stadium than LSU. I would imagine it's going to be a packed house at Jerry's World. Don't be surprised, though, if A&M has a fan advantage as far as numbers go. Should be a good game between A&M and LSU. December 29th, Oklahoma State, the Cowboys, 10-2 this season. Big 12 Coach of the Year, Mike Gundy. For the second time in school history, they will go to the Alamo Bowl, and they will face a slumping Arizona squad. could not win down the stretch, finished with a record of 7-5. OSU, by the way, favored to win this game. They are a 6-point favorite against the Wildcats. You would anticipate that other than Oregon, this will be the best offense that the Wildcats have faced this season. Mike Gundy, he's never beaten Bob Stoops as a head coach. We'll see if he can beat Bob's brother, Mike Stoops, when Zona and OSU go head-to-head in San Antonio for the Alamo Bowl. By the way, these two teams will play the next 2 seasons during the regular season, next year in Stillwater and in 2012 in Tucson. December 28th, the Missouri Tigers, a 10-win season for Gary Pinkel's squad, led by quarterback Blaine Gabbert. They will play an Iowa team that was one of the most disappointing this year in college football. They lost their last 3 games down the stretch, including a 7-5 record overall. The Hawkeyes, if there's one thing you can say about them, though, they never got blown out in any of their games. Their biggest defeat was 7 points. In fact, they lost 2 games this year by 3 points, 1 by 4, and 1 by 1 point. So Missouri, don't look at Iowa's record and think it's going to be a pushover. It will not be. The Insight Bowl between Missouri and Iowa from Phoenix, Missouri will be favored in this game, but they're only favored by 1 point. Should be one of the more entertaining bowl games of the year. A game that does not look entertaining is the Holiday Bowl on December 30th, Nebraska against Washington. Yeah, stop me if you've heard this before. The 2 teams have already played each other this year. They played in September. Nebraska beat them by 5 TDs. Nebraska, I don't know how you get motivated to play in the Holiday Bowl. You were there last year, and I especially don't know how you get motivated to play a team you beat by 35 points just a few months ago. Washington has everything to gain. Jake Locker should be healthier than he's been all season long. So you figure Washington is going to make this a more competitive battle. I would be surprised still, in spite of all the intangibles, if Nebraska doesn't win this game by at least 17 points. They're simply the better team. Washington had to win against Washington State the last game just to get to 6-6 in bowl eligibility. Nebraska is at 10-3, by the way. Then on December 30th, the Pinstripe Bowl in Yankee Stadium, New York, New York, Kansas State, the Wildcats, 7-5, back in the bowl game. Bill Schneider at the helm with everything running back. Daniel Thomas will play Syracuse, who will no question have the home crowd advantage. The game just a drive away from Syracuse, New York, playing in their home state. Kansas State, if they can get any kind of passing game going, I think they can win this game. Otherwise, Syracuse, with the home crowd advantage, will be pretty tough to beat. So 7-5 against 7-5. The Cats against the Cuse in the Pinstripe Bowl. Now, on December 29th, the Texas Bowl from Houston. It's Baylor making their first ever bowl appearance as a Big 12 member. They will play Illinois. Do not expect any defense in this game. Both teams' defense has been bad, or you could say that both teams' offenses have been pretty good. Baylor with All-American or All-American type Robert Griffin. He was definitely all-conference this year, second team All-Big 12. It should be an offensive explosion for both the Bears and the Illini, and Baylor naturally should have the home crowd advantage. Not that far of a trip from Waco to Houston. And finally, taking a look at one more bowl game, the Ticket City Bowl, Texas Tech. 15 out of 15 years they played in a bowl game as a Big 12 member. Nobody else has done that. The Red Raiders will play Northwestern. That game will be played at the Cotton Bowl Stadium in Dallas. The Ticket City Bowl on January 1st will pit Tech against Northwestern. Tech should win this game. It should win it impressively. I don't see Northwestern stopping Tech's offense. Tech a 9.5-point favorite. And if you've looked in recent years, Texas has won bowl games. They've been a pretty good bowl team in recent years, but now they have to do it with Tommy Tuberville at the helm and not Mike Leach. So there's your preview of the 8 Big 12 teams that will be in bowl games. As far as how I did on my Big 12 picks this year, well, I got one right. I said A&M would go 9-3. That's exactly what they finished. I said Nebraska would win the North. They did just that, but they finished with an overall record of 10-3. I predicted 11-2, so I was a game off. Other schools where I was just a game off: Kansas State, Texas Tech, Colorado, the Sooners, who I picked would win the Big 12, by the way, and Missouri. As you can tell by looking at the screen what my record prediction was and what they actually finished. I was just a game off with those schools. I was 2 games off on Iowa State and Kansas, 3 games off on Baylor and OSU, and I was way, way off the map on Texas, picking them 10-2. What was I thinking? They didn't even go to a bowl game. As far as nationally how I did, well, I had picked Virginia Tech to win the ACC. They did that, but they beat Florida State. I predicted Clemson. And I was right on the Big 12. I said Oklahoma would beat Nebraska. Got that right. And I had picked Pittsburgh to win the Big East. They finished in the tie for first, but Connecticut, as you know, won the tiebreak. I picked Ohio State to win the Big Ten. They finished in a tie for first with Wisconsin and Michigan State, but the Badgers got the tiebreak, and I was way off on the Pac-10. I picked Oregon State to win it. Boy, was I inaccurate. Oregon ended up winning it, of course, and I picked Florida and Alabama to meet for the SEC Championship, with Florida winning. Not even close. It was Auburn beating South Carolina. And my national championship pick, well, Ball Tech and Ohio State. Those were the 2 teams I picked to go to the national championship. They didn't go. Of course, it's Auburn and Oregon. However, the Buckeyes and the Hokies still are going to BCS games. So I was off, but not too far off on my national championship picks. So there you have it. There's my Big 12 Bowl preview show, as well as how I did this year on my selections. And in just a few days, I'll be back with my history of the Fiesta Bowl. We're going to give you a brief history of a game that really has not been around for as long as you think. And then, a few days after that, it will be my bowl preview show of Oklahoma versus Connecticut. And then that weekend, sometime of January 1st, my post-game show, my final one of the year, as we'll review how Oklahoma did against the Huskies. So only 3 shows left to go for the 2010 season.